are about to enter a new world, and you will never view entertainment in the same way again. This is Popcorn Theology.
Welcome, movie lovers and theology nerds, to Popcorn Theology, where we examine films for where they align with the greatest story and our greatest storyteller, discussing what to receive, reject, and redeem for common ground, fruitful conversation, and mindful movie consumption. I'm Jam.
And I'm David, and welcome to our newest series of weekly discussions in the lobby. This month, we're hanging the lights, sipping the eggnog, brushing off our favorite ugly sweaters. And because we're feeling so generous, we're going to be doing things a little bit differently. Normally, we would have the first episode available to the public, and then the rest are released weekly throughout the month as exclusive content for our premium seating patron saints, who we really appreciate their support. They make the show possible. You guys are the best. We really appreciate you.
Yeah, and since we're in the spirit of the season, what we're going to do is make all of these weekly episodes available to the public through audio and on YouTube. So we ask, please share these far and wide. Share them with film lovers, theology nerds, shepherds, wise men, and even not so wise men. And we ask, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or your favorite audio platform for more great content like this.
Yes, absolutely. So this is our Christmas gift to you guys, if you will. And also, consider supporting us on Patreon because we've been doing these for several months now, this In the Lobby series, and it's been some of my favorite content. Popcorn Theology is almost 10 years old, if you can believe it. And this is some of my favorite content we've done because normally we're exploring one film or one show and dissecting the themes in that, which is great, and we still do that. But this separate series is where we kind of discuss the broader patterns and themes in film, theology, culture, and we're joined by special guests for that. And so, as Jam mentioned, please take a second just to subscribe on YouTube, your favorite audio platform. We've got content like this coming all the time. And so one thing I'll also briefly mention, we're doing speaking of gifts, so we're doing this thing where we have quite a few stickers, right? We've got quite a few stickers, and those are one of the gifts for our patron saints. But for a limited time, we're giving these away. So all we ask that you do is to give us a 5-star review, specifically on iTunes, because that's where we get most of our interaction. If you write a 5-star review, screenshot that and send that to feedback@popcorntheology.com. Then, along with your mailing address, I will get you 2 of these stickers, quality stickers. And one thing I love about them, on the back, they have a QR code. And that QR code takes you to the YouTube channel, audio, social media, pretty much anywhere related to the podcast. So the goal is, one of these is for you, and one is for a friend who doesn't already know about us that would appreciate what we do. And so, just as a quick plug, we're in the generous spirit, if you will, this year. And so, definitely consider joining us for more In the Lobby discussion. This week, what we're going to be doing is discussing Christmas, or this month, I should say, discussing Christmas films, stories, and some of the traditions related to that. And we're actually going to dive a bit into a book. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas by Andrew Wilson. As you can see, a quick read. If you're at all interested, it won't take up much of your time during the Christmas season where we're all quite busy. One thing that I'll mention as well, we were all set to have Andrew join us for this, and that was very exciting. And this is still very exciting, but we had some technical issues, so he's not able to join us for this series. But still, highly recommend the book. And as an author, I'll also throw this as a quick shout out. The Life You Never Expected. This is a book he and his wife wrote about their experience raising children with special needs. This spoke quite personally to me, and I thought maybe some others that if you have a friend or loved one with with special needs and are trying to navigate that from a Christian perspective, I highly recommend that book. And so anyway, that's our plug. And we're pivoting a little bit, but it's going to be great. There's so much more to discuss when it comes to Christmas films, and we are thrilled to get into that, Jam. So where are we going to start this off?
I mean, being a film and theology podcast, the natural place to start out is to ask the question, what your favorite seasonal movie is. What is your favorite Christmas movie?
Right. And so for me, I can't just choose one because I don't really operate that way. I will say there's the answers that people like to give, and then there's the honest answers. Which ones do you, if you're flipping the channels, if you still have channels, which one do you stop on every time you see it? Which ones are you find yourself smiling and thinking about when it comes Christmas time? And surprising as it is, Elf is up there for me. Elf really just kind of became an instant Christmas classic, 2003, I believe. So Elf is excellent, comedy gold. James Caan just makes me laugh every single time. Just the perfect Scrooge. And then the Santa Claus as well. I'm a huge Tim Allen fan. And so whenever I see the Santa Claus, specifically the first one, though honestly the sequels are pretty good too, that one has a special place in my heart as well. And I believe, we've covered both of those on the podcast. So if you want to check out our episodes on those, I don't remember the numbers, but you can just check them in the audio backlog, and we've got them.
Now, did you like the Santa Claus show that Disney
I didn't
Plus
even
put out?
bother watching it. I doubt it's great, but who knows? I didn't take the time. So have you seen it?
I've seen it. Yeah, it was. They hit on nostalgia pretty well. So
Okay.
I mean, what the first movie captures and all that is around Christmas and Santa Claus and all that stuff, they do pretty well to recapture it again. And the writing's not terrible. It's what you would expect from one of these films. It's more campy, like in the second movie. That's kind of the tone of writing and things like that. But it's not bad. My wife and I watched it when it first came out. We enjoyed it for what it was. So I would recommend it. It's worth at least giving it a try there, David.
That might have been worth a little episode even on the series. Did they do a second season already, or just the one?
I think they're teed up to do a second season.
Okay, nice.
I don't know if they've done one or not. I know at least we've seen the first season, and we enjoyed what we saw with it.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that one thing about that, there's certain actors that that when they're involved, it's probably not junk because they say no to bad roles. And I think Tim Allen is one of those.
Yep.
He's got plenty in the bank. He doesn't really bother with stuff he doesn't believe in or enjoy. At least that's been my experience. Everything I've seen Tim Allen in has been worth watching. Even the Toy Story movies. Like, I know he's not exactly the only one involved in those decisions, but those have landed solidly each time. And so if he's involved, it's probably worth watching.
Oh yeah.
But what about you, Jam? It sounds like that's probably on your list as well. But what's your short list look like for Christmas favorites?
I mean, Elf is number one for me.
Nice.
When my brother and I moved out from home and we got our first place for college, we did what we called 25 days of Elf. And we literally in our wow. Living room, we just had Elf on repeat all day long for 25 days. It was great. We loved it. So nice. Elf is definitely number one for me. But then Iron Man 3, man. Iron Man 3 is up there for a Christmas movie. And on top of Iron Man 3, A Christmas Carol. Phenomenal movie. I particularly love the animated Jim Carrey version. That is probably my favorite one. But outside of that, I'll take any rendition of A Christmas Carol that I've seen so far. I've not hated any of them.
Nice.
So yeah, that's it for me, man.
I was going to say, I'll take those in turn. As far as the Elf thing. So I'm curious if you've ever tried the spaghetti thing that he does. No. We did it for a youth group event once, right? We boiled spaghetti. We made the spaghetti noodles, and then we had all the candy and stuff in there. I thought, that's probably okay. I can't tell you how gross that was. It was horrible. Yeah. And so the fact that he has a couple scenes of doing that, I'm just like, man, he's a trooper. That was really gross. Not going to lie. But speaking of A Christmas Carol, so it seems like from what I've heard, the Jim Carrey one, it's strange because it's Jim Carrey, but it's the one that's straight from Dickens, right? The language is the closest probably of anything else that we've had.
Yep.
That's interesting. I like I think it's George C. Scott is the one. I don't know what decade it came out in, but there's been so many versions of this, but that's the one where I think his joyful transition at the end is incredibly poignant. But also there's the Mickey Mouse version that I think was my first exposure to Christmas Carol, and that holds a special place in my heart. And speaking of A Christmas Carol, we've got an episode. I think it will have released by the time you guys see this on A Muppet Christmas Carol, which is many people's favorite as well. So, but I wanted to dive back to one that you mentioned, Iron Man 3. Do you care to defend that choice as a Christmas film for us? Because I'm having trouble with that one.
Well, it all depends on what you consider to be a Christmas movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some people consider like the Tim Burton Batman films to be Christmas movies because they take place around Christmas. Or you think of Die Hard. You always hear about how Die Hard is a Christmas film. And so if we consider
Or
a
is
Christmas
or isn't, right? That's
or
the
isn't,
discussion.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's the discussion, right? What do we consider a Christmas film? For me, you have Iron Man and Iron Man 3 that is taking place during the time of Christmas. And the question is, what themes have to be present for it to be a Christmas movie? So I don't know. What do you think, David? What themes have to be present?
I guess that's the thing. There do need to be themes, right? Because there are other films that are set in Christmas in whole or in part. I mean, so, one example that comes to mind, Sleepless in Seattle, right? Is that a Christmas movie because some of the scenes take place at Christmas? Yep. No, if anything, it's a Valentine's Day movie because the climax of that film takes place famously on Valentine's Day. Yeah. So I struggle with the notion that movies set at Christmas are necessarily Christmas movies. But as far as the themes, I mean, we'll talk more about this later. I think if it shows the theme of a change of heart and there's usually some aspect of faith in there, maybe misplaced, but at the very least, a change in belief leads to a change in heart, leads to a change in actions. And so if those themes are present, I think I'm a little more willing to consider it a Christmas movie. And so what about you? What themes do you think are key?
Yeah. I mean, the aspect of change is a huge theme I think you see within Christmas movies. Typically you have some sort of wonder. There's an element of wonder or magic, something like that, that's usually hit on in Christmas movies. You think about any Hallmark Christmas movie you've ever watched, there's always that scene of, the girl standing with the snow falling, and it's supposed to be trying to capture this element of wonder and magic. So I think there's that aspect of it. You had asked me to defend Iron Man as a Christmas movie. I think you see aspects of change in Tony Stark. Iron Man 3 takes place after Avengers, and this is an unpopular opinion, but I think it's the best of the Iron Man films. And I think it's the best of the Iron Man films because you see such depth of his character. They're really working hard to show you how his character is developing. And without Iron Man 3, I don't think you get the Infinity War and Endgame Tony Stark that we get, even before Civil War takes place. Because what happens in Iron Man 3, he's struggling with PTSD from the attack on New York. And he ends up having all of these concerns where he wants to continue building more and more armor. And so you're getting into like this Armor Wars type of plot line where Iron Man's building everything. And he becomes completely and totally just fixated on this idea to where then you're seeing him, it's almost a Christmas Carol because you're seeing him, the Ghost of Christmas Past being Killian, and then also Killian's assistant, or it's not his assistant, but I'm blanking on her name, but the woman who was like the assistant for Tony Stark, she is there as well. And then you have the future, which is Pepper, and then the present, which is him wrestling with Iron Man. So you have three Ghost of Future, present, past. And then at the end, that sense of wonder that you see where he's willing to blow up all of the Iron Man suits and he's saying, all right, I'm done with this. I can't protect the whole world. He comes to that realization. And so he's just like, I have to make the most out of the time that I have and do what I can do. And so he then blows up all of his suits at the end of the movie. I think it captures a lot of those. You also see him trying to build on the next generation. And so this idea of charity and passing things down to the point where at Tony Stark's funeral in Endgame, the same boy that's in same boy that's in Iron Man 3 is actually at the funeral, and you can see him briefly at the funeral. So you even see this idea of passing down legacy. You see this idea of charity, him caring for that boy. Those kinds of things are there. So I don't know. And the whole thing takes place in Christmas time, so it doesn't flip to Valentine's Day.
That's true. Yeah. It's not just a couple scenes at Christmas during a story set throughout a year. No, that is interesting. I guess I didn't. And of course they changed settings from Southern California where it wouldn't be visibly Christmas, to Tennessee, I think is where some of it takes place.
Yeah.
Or somewhere.
And he's right. His suit dies, which a lot of people critique Iron Man 3 because he's not in the suit nearly as much. So it's really just a Tony Stark movie. But they'd already set up for us in Iron Man 1 that Tony Stark is Iron Man. He has difficulty separating the two. And so he's wrestling the whole time with I'm Iron Man, but I can't use my suit. So I need to not only be Iron Man, but Tony Stark. And how can I be Iron Man who is Tony Stark? And so his dead suit, the entirety of the movie, is actually showing you he has to be more than the suit, which is why then his statement to Spider-Man in Spider-Man Homecoming, if you're nothing without the suit, you don't deserve to wear it. That's why that has so much value and impact, because he literally had to go through it in Iron Man 3, and he's realizing he has to be more than the suit, to the point where then you get into Infinity War and he's got nanotech now. So the suit is a part of him. It's not something outside of him. It's a part of him. He wear it, like, boom, just comes on him. So there's a lot there, man. And I think there's a lot more to that movie than people give it credit for.
Yeah, that's fair. I do wonder if you think it was at all cheapened, because I remember watching that thinking, oh, they're retiring Iron Man. Like, we're done. This is the last Iron Man film. At least, maybe there's cameos, but this is going to be the last one that focuses on him. And then there's still several after that, including Age of Ultron, where he re-enters that obsession with armor by wanting to put a suit of armor around the world. Obviously, some of this can be explained by having different teams and writing teams, directors, and of course the demand for a franchise of the team up films. I don't know. Do you think that at all cheapens the ending of Iron Man 3?
I think it does, in the same way that Thor: The Dark World ends up getting cheapened by Thor Ragnarok. A lot of people hate Dark World. I think Dark World's the best Thor. It captures the character the best. As to where, like, Thor 1 is very cheesy, corny, if I dare say. And then you get into Thor 3 and he just doesn't take himself seriously. Thor: The Dark World, the character is serious. He wants to be a better man. He wants to lead better. He wants to care for his friends better. He wants to protect more. He's not the arrogant Thor that you saw in the first one. You actually see character development there. That's the same with Iron Man 3. I think what is unfortunate, you've seen a arc with Iron Man 1. He's selfish, and then ends up seeing, like, well, there are aspects of myself I have to die to, but he's not completely ready to die to all aspects of himself. And we see that to be the case in Iron Man 2, where he's still partying. He's still playboy. You see he's still not willing to change in the ways that he needs to. And then Iron Man 3 happens. And in Iron Man 3, it's following up Avengers. We saw he was literally willing to die to himself in the attack on New York, right? He takes the nuke into space. You think he's going to die, kind of thing. And then Iron Man 3, you've got all this beautiful development. And then, he destroys all his armor. It's supposed to be like all right, I can be more than just the suit. And then he's so fixated in Age of Ultron. Now, to be fair, I love Age of Ultron, but I don't think they captured I don't think they captured his character as well as they could have. Even the idea of, like, I'm going to build an AI who will protect the world, I think is following up this idea of I don't need all the armor. I think he's trying to use the Tony Stark side of himself to say, I'm intelligent enough. I don't have to be up there. I don't have to be the shield for the entirety of the world, but I can build something that will be. So I think that aspect was great. So yeah, I mean, part of it is cheapened, and that's something I've seen reoccurring within Marvel. It happened with WandaVision, right? In WandaVision, there's that beautiful scene at the very end with Wanda where she's finally comes to the realization, my family is gone. I've hurt all these people. I can't do this anymore, and I have to let Vision go. And then you get into Doctor Strange 3, and she's the villain, and the whole plot line is, I'm going to get my family back. And it's like, what just happened with WandaVision? Like, that beautiful moment of redemption for her was thrown out the window for her to become a villain, which it was fun to watch, but yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So still a great movie, but I agree. WandaVision was beautiful and succinct in the storytelling. It was creative. I still think it's probably one of the best things Marvel's done. Certainly the best show Marvel's done, if we don't count the Daredevil series, and even the Punisher. But
we always count Daredevil.
I hope they don't ruin it with whatever the new series is, Born Again, I think it's called.
Yeah. I have high hopes.
Let's see how it goes, right? And I will say, as far as Thor, just as a quick note before we move on, I think if they had put the Led Zeppelin song in the second one, I would probably agree that it's the best one. There's something about something about Immigrant Song that really makes me needlessly loyal to the third movie. But
oh yeah, that intro
anyway.
was a solid intro, and if the rest of Ragnarok would have had that vibe, I would have been on board. But they take that intro, which is clearly just hearkening back to the second movie's vibe, and then they're like, all right, now we're leaving this. And that's where, unfortunately, the movie goes downhill for me.
Taika Waititi is brilliant. He's hilarious, but maybe there's certain things he should... You're so preoccupied with whether or not you could, you never stop to think whether or not you should, right?
Yep.
So excellent. Yeah, I think that, so first of all, I love that we went down that rabbit trail with Iron Man 3 and not with the typical point of discussion, Die Hard. In part because I think that that's been done to death, but also we have episodes on basically everything that we've just discussed. I don't know if we have one on Iron Man 3 specifically.
Oh, let's make it happen.
Maybe we should. Well, there's very few Marvel movies we haven't covered. I mean, until like Phase 4, right? Once we hit Phase 4, it's hard to keep up with them. But very few that we have not covered. But the Die Hard film we also did as a Christmas episode. You know, we're coming on our 10th year, and so we've got 9 years of Christmas movies, and it's not just one per year. We usually have several. And so, I just wanted to point people to those.
We hope you enjoyed this first episode of our In the Lobby series. To watch future episodes, click the link in the description to support us on Patreon and become a patron saint. Subscribe on YouTube for more content, follow and interact on social media to share with others, and remember, you are not a mindless consumer.